Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 4 of Wealth of Patience. I hope you guys are having an amazing day, and thank you so much for all the support that I've had over the past few weeks. I've Even though this show is super new, I've already got listeners from Rwanda, South Africa, Canada, of course, India. So I'm really grateful for all the support that I've been getting from countries all over the world. Since the podcast is to inspire people to create long term wealth, it gives me a lot of gratitude that I'm able to impact people in different countries and outside of just North America and people who just reach a wider audience. So I'm really grateful for that. In today's episode, I will be talking about the man, the myth himself, Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett, as you may or may not know, is one of the most legendary investors of our time. And he's been around for a really long time and has been through most of the recessions and crashes and depressions that have stuck around. I, over the past week or so, I've taken a look at a lot of Warren Buffett's filings, and I've been tracking his investment strategy for a couple years now. And just trying to understand why he invests in what he invests. And today I would love to share those insights with you, and hopefully you're able to gain some value out of this. So, Warren Buffett's biggest investments are Apple, Bank of America, Coca Cola, Chevron, American Express, Kraft, and Occidental Petroleum Corporation. Remember Occidental Petroleum? We're going to be coming back to that very shortly. But if you look at Warren Buffett's investment structure and what he talks about is he only invests in companies that he truly understands. And one of his very famous quotes is when you're buying a stock of a company, look at whether you would buy the entire company as a whole. Don't look at, let's say if you're buying an Apple share, don't look at it as if you're just buying or putting in $140. Think about, let's say Apple's market cap is 900 billion. Think about whether you would want to pay $900 billion for that company, and is that company worth $900 billion? That's the entire strategy behind investing, is knowing what to buy, but more importantly, when to buy it, and understanding whether you're getting something for a discount or not. Obviously, there's so many different ways to do it, and that's where the skill lies. But he talks a lot about look at it as if you're buying the entire company, even though you're a part shareholder, um, and unless you're Warren Buffett, probably not buying a significant portion of a company. So yeah, he talks that about. I think there's a very famous. I'm not sure if he said this or if someone else has said it on his behalf, but it's often quoted that Warren Buffett says, "Price is what you pay and value is what you get." So it's important to understand that you're getting a bargain out of the deal that you're buying. If you're buying a company for, let's say Apple for a 800 or $900 billion valuation, that you truly believe that Apple's book value or Apple's real value based on their net assets, based on their cash flows, their operating income is in the range of 1 trillion or anything about what you've paid for. So that's up to the investor to decide that. He really believes in the long-term investment strategy, and I completely support with that. Our goal here at Wealth of Patience is to build long-term wealth. We don't care about what's happening in the next 5 to 10 months. We really genuinely care about what's going to happen in the next 3 years, 5 years, 7 years. The importance of having a strong portfolio and having a well balanced portfolio is investing for the long term and only buying assets that you truly believe will be around for the long term. So if you don't think a company is going to be around but you're still buying it, you're essentially gambling because you're only trying to go for the short term capital gains in the hopes that somebody else will pay more for that company than you. But if you truly believe in a company, you need to invest for the long term, and he's very particular on that. I mean, Warren Buffett is extremely long term, like 30 years, 40 years. I mean, there's companies that he said, I believe Coca-Cola, he's talked about how he would never sell a single share of Coca-Cola. So I mean, that's another extreme, and I think if you have patience like that, then you are destined for greatness. In an interview, he's talked about how you should. Yeah, he said the difference that distinguishes the average investor from a legendary investor is their ability to read. And he talks about the ability to read company filings, the ability to sit down and read a company's 10K, their annual reports, their quarterly reports, sit down on the insider or on the investor relations calls or the quarterly meetings that happens with shareholders. Like, if you're a true investor of a company, you need to know exactly what goes on with that company. And I mean, I can attest to that. When I'm tracking a few companies, it's very easy to read their reports, be updated on when their earnings is happening and everything of that regard. Once you start dealing with a lot of companies, and especially if you're buying the company itself and not an overall ETF or a managed fund, it becomes very hard to track each and every investor relations call or each and every document or anything that's coming out regarding the company that you're invested in. So, I mean, that's the biggest thing he's talked about, which is really understand the company you're investing in. And when I talked to my grandfather, he told me the same advice about investing. He said, truly understand the company you're investing in, understand the management, understand the owners, everything of that regard, before you decide to put in a single dollar in that company. Yeah, that's a pretty big, I completely agree with that. And I really think that I think in today's generation, a lot of youngsters in colleges try to just buy companies because, oh, GameStop is cool, everybody's talking about it, or AMC is really cool, everybody's talking about it. But it's really important to just think whether I really understand the business model of this company. Do I understand why GameStop is going good, or what's the business strategy behind GameStop? Like, if you don't understand a company, um, you kind of don't know what's going on. And honestly, I can attest to it quite a bit too. I mean, there are some companies that I own that I have a very good understanding of their business model, their cash flows, their income numbers, like everything off the top of my head. Obviously, not the specific numbers, but a very good understanding of the company itself. And there's other companies that I might not know as well that I might have bought because it's a more maybe based on technical analysis most of the times, or if their earnings came out really good. But yeah, Warren Buffett is a very good proponent of investing for the long term and taking your time to really understand the company that you're investing in. Here's the issue. What's the issue? It takes a lot of patience, wealth of patience. People, and I mean everyone can attest to this. I don't want to sound like I'm some like super perfect person, but it is often easier to just read the headline and buy a stock. Or if you search up stocks, you'll probably get Motley Fool articles where it says, buy this one stock and get rich overnight, or this stock is expected to go up 75% in the next year. Please do your own research. And Warren Buffett talks about reading the filings yourself, reading all of that yourself. Instead of reading articles on CNBC, on all these media outlets about the filings, it's very important to do your own research instead. So yeah, that's a very big thing Warren Buffett always talks about. Do your own research, read the filings itself, and invest for the long term. Now let's get on to the specifics. How do you read the filings, or how do you read a company's actually filings? There's two really big softwares that are very commonly used. One is Refinitiv and the other is Bloomberg. You probably have heard of Bloomberg before. I'm not sure about if you've heard of Refinitiv. But these two softwares, they might be expensive. So if you can get a trial, that'd be great. Or if you work for a company, maybe your company can provide you with a license. I was fortunate able to get a license through my school, but it might depend from case to case. So yeah, if you have access to Refinitiv, I searched the Berkshire Hathaway in their search, went to company filings. I was able to get all the filings that Warren Buffett has done for an extended period of time. Obviously, there's a lot of filings on there, but I just wanted to verify some of the filings for myself and see whether these are true, because I've been seeing online, and if you search up Warren Buffett right now and go into the news section, you're going to get it as well. They say, oh, Warren Buffett is buying this company, or he's buying this company, or his company, Berkshire Hathaway, are buying up these stocks and that stocks. And you don't actually know whether they're buying that or not based on an article. Anyone can say anything on the internet. You only know if they've truly bought it if you've read a documentation authorized by the SEC that's published on a reputable website like Refinitiv of Bloomberg, or on the company website where there's actual company filings. So unless you read that, you have no way of verifying whether someone or some company has actually bought a bunch of shares, right? So yeah, I looked at his 90-day report, and there's one company that constantly stands out, that keeps standing out over and over and again. And Warren Buffett has been buying this for a long time, but he's become a lot more aggressive at it recently. And that company is Occidental Petroleum. And I have the filings pulled up right now. 19th July 2022, bought it. 18th July 2022, 13th July 2022, 7th July 2022, 1st July 2022, 27th June 2020. Like, he's been buying Occidental Petroleum quite aggressively over the past, I would say, like about 3 months, but especially in the past month and a half. Like, he's been buying it quite aggressively. And yeah, if you look at Occidental Petroleum, right, their year to date, while we're going through a stock crash and all companies are falling and we're going through one of the biggest recessions and inflation and this and that, Occidental Petroleum has gone up year to date 89.99%. They've gone up about 90%. That is absolutely insane. I was flabbergasted when I looked at the year to date. Does it make sense? Yes. Berkshire Hathaway is also Occidental Petroleum's largest shareholder, and people often ask, like, why. Someone asked him, why did Berkshire Hathaway buy it, and Warren Buffett said that Warren Buffett is very into the oil business because he understands in a time of a crisis, people are going to really like petrol, and petrol is something that people will still be using. Whether Warren Buffett's weighted average cost of the stock price itself is about $53 per share. And what is Occidental Petroleum trading at right now? $59 per share. So if you get in right now, you're not too far away from Warren Buffett's entry price or weighted average price. And the reason why he's buying Warren Occidental Petroleum is an energy sector company, and just being in that industry itself automatically gives you the biggest advantage. Energy, hydro energy, petroleum, just any kind of energy business is probably the most lucrative slash the most has the biggest industry size in terms of trillions and trillions of dollars. So by Warren Buffett buying one of the Occidental Petroleum, I mean he's definitely betting on petrol and yeah, he's definitely betting on petrol prices to go up in a way. Since when he bought the stock back in right before the pandemic, he said the reason why he's buying it is he's betting on oil prices to rise. And obviously, as we all know, with the COVID crash, oil prices went negative, and everybody lost a lot of money. And Warren Buffett's stock price crashed to $10. So yeah, like that didn't work out in too favor. But as long as oil prices keep rising, that would definitely contribute properly to Occidental Petroleum as a company. And what does it do? It explores and produces oil and natural gas. So as long as there's a demand for oil and natural gas, there's going to be a demand for the company. And yeah, I'm very interested in seeing how the company does on a fundamental level, and I would need to research a lot more about the company before I buy it. But I'm very bullish on the energy sector as a whole. So I would definitely encourage listeners of this podcast to read into the energy sector and just understand the importance of the energy sector companies and how big of an industry truly is and how sustainable it is. Obviously, there's going to be disruptors with a shift towards renewable sources of energy, but I don't think a company such as Occidental Petroleum Company, which is based in U.S., Middle East, North Africa, and is really rooted into the oil production industry, is going anywhere anytime soon. I'm very, very excited to see what happens with the company long term and just see where it's headed towards. And I'm very bullish on Warren Buffett as a whole. The reason, like, he was holding cash for the longest time, and now all of a sudden he's buying up Chevron, he's buying up Occidental Petroleum, he's buying up all these companies, and it's very interesting to see him progress. And I'll be very interested to see how he goes forward in the future. That's it. My name is Angad Gujral. This is Wealth of Patience. The biggest takeaway I want you to have before the podcast ends is follow Warren Buffett's investing strategies. Understand the company that you're investing in truly. For example, if I wanted to buy Occidental Petroleum, I would really read their annual reports, quarterly filings, understand what they're doing. Second Warren Buffett strategy is invest for the long term. Understand what you're buying and buy it for the long term. And invest as if you're buying the whole company and not just a share. I hope you were able to learn something from this episode. I'll be back with weekly episodes every Saturday. And I'm super grateful for everybody that's listening to this episode. And thank you so much for listening. My name is Anga. This is Wealth of Patience. Peace out.